Put your hand flat against your south-facing wall at 4 in the afternoon. Not the north wall, not the east wall, the south wall in full sun. Now do the same thing at midnight. The question this video answers is why that wall is still warm, and why, in some houses, it stopped being warm 2 winters ago. I have an infrared thermometer in my hand. The east wall of the same building reads 61 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 Celsius, at 4 in the afternoon. The south wall reads 79 degrees Fahrenheit, 26 Celsius. 18 degrees Fahrenheit of difference. Same building, same afternoon, different orientation. That gap is not decorative. That gap is the mechanism that heats the interior from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. without a single piece of firewood. And in most homes, it is either working without anyone knowing it, or it has been accidentally switched off. This is part of a series on the physics of shelter. If you want the rest, subscribe now, because the next video covers why your crawl space is costing you more than your roof, and the number involved will change how you think about where heat actually leaves your house. Now, the wall. The south-facing wall is not simply the side of a building that faces the sun. That is where most people stop thinking about it. They see it as a surface that gets hot and then cools down. That description is accurate. It is also nearly useless for understanding what the wall is actually doing. What the wall is doing is charging. During daylight hours, a south-facing wall with adequate thermal mass absorbs solar radiation and converts it to stored heat. The wall is not radiating that heat back into the room while the sun is up. The wall is accumulating it. The interior of a well-designed south wall at 2 in the afternoon is cooler than its exterior by 6 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 to 5 Celsius, because the heat has not yet moved through. The wall is, in physical terms, a capacitor. It accepts charge during the day and releases it slowly over the night. That release begins around sunset, when the exterior temperature drops and the gradient reverses. The heat that entered the wall at noon begins moving inward. By 10 p.m., it is radiating into the room. By midnight, it is the primary heat source in the space. By 4 a.m., depending on wall thickness and material, that stored charge is spent. The coldest hour of the night is 4 a.m. for a reason. That is when the wall is empty. Now, here is the error. The homeowner who wakes up cold at 4 a.m. does not think, "The wall ran out of charge." The homeowner thinks, "I need more insulation," and they are not entirely wrong. But where they add the insulation determines everything. If you add insulation to the outside of your south wall, you slow the rate at which solar energy enters the thermal mass. Less charge in, slower release, but the mechanism survives. If you add insulation to the inside of your south wall, fiberglass bat between studs, foam board against the interior surface, you do something different. You insulate the room from the wall. The wall still charges during the day. The wall still releases heat at night. But the heat releases into the wall cavity, not into the room. You have built a barrier between the battery and the device it was supposed to power. The wall is warm. The room is cold. And the homeowner is burning more wood at midnight than ever before. This is the honesto villain in its cleanest form. The homeowner was not deceived. The advice was standard. Insulate for warmth. Every instruction sheet, every hardware store associate said the same thing. The error was not in the intention. The error was in not understanding which side of the wall was doing the work. The physical principle behind this was documented by the U.S. Department of Energy in their Passive Solar Design Guidelines, and it describes exactly the sequence I just outlined. Thermal mass on the interior side of insulation stores heat for the room. Thermal mass on the exterior side of insulation stores heat for the outdoors. The position of the insulation layer relative to the mass determines who receives the stored energy. That distinction was never on the instruction sheet. Here is the number that makes this concrete. A south-facing wall built of 8-inch poured concrete or adobe brick, both materials with a thermal mass density of roughly 140 pounds per cubic foot, has a time lag of 8 to 10 hours between peak solar absorption and peak interior heat release. Noon sun, 10 p.m. warmth. A wall built of 2x6 wood framing with fiberglass bat insulation has a time lag of approximately 1 hour. The wall absorbs. The wall releases almost immediately. By 6 p.m., the stored heat is gone. The difference is not the insulation. The difference is the mass. The numbers confirm it. At 4 p.m., both wall types read similarly on the exterior. But at 10 p.m., the adobe wall reads 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius on its interior surface. The framed wall reads 58 degrees Fahrenheit, 14 Celsius. By midnight, the adobe is still 65 degrees, 18 Celsius. The framed wall is at 54, 12 Celsius, and falling. The room knows this. The floor near the south wall is warmer in the adobe building. The air temperature is steadier. There is no sharp drop when the fire goes out. Now, the fix. If you have already added insulation to the inside of your south wall, the first step is to find out what you have. Pull the outlet covers and look inside the wall cavity. If there is bat insulation between you and the exterior cladding, you have likely reduced the wall's ability to release stored heat into the room. What you can do depends on your situation. If the wall is framed wood, you cannot easily add meaningful thermal mass without reconstruction, but you can stop making it worse. Do not add foam board to the interior surface. That layer is what seals the room off from any residual thermal capacity the wall still has. If you are building new or you are retrofitting a masonry or concrete south wall, the priority order is clear. Mass first, insulation second, on the exterior side. In climates with hard winters, a 2-inch layer of rigid foam on the exterior of a concrete south wall achieves both. It slows the rate of thermal charge slightly, but it keeps the stored heat inside the building mass, not bleeding into the outdoor air. The wall still charges during the day. The wall still releases inward at night. The foam is on the correct side of the battery. The adobe builders of the American Southwest understood this without thermometers or energy codes. Their south walls were 18 to 24 inches thick. The time lag through that mass was 10 to 12 hours. They placed no insulation on the interior surface. The wall and the room were in direct thermal contact. Adobe buildings in New Mexico maintained interior temperatures within 8 degrees Fahrenheit of comfort across a full 24-hour cycle for over 800 years. In a climate that reaches 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 Celsius, in summer and drops below freezing in winter. They did not need to be warmer than the climate. They needed to be steadier than it. That steadiness comes from mass in direct contact with the interior air, and mass only works when nothing is between it and the room. Now the thermometer returns. Go back to your south wall at 4 in the afternoon. The reading you get on that infrared thermometer, 79, 80, 82 degrees Fahrenheit, 26, 27, 28 Celsius, is your wall's state of charge. The battery is full. The question the thermometer cannot answer is whether that charge will reach you tonight. Put your hand flat against the interior surface of that same wall at 10 p.m. If the wall is warm to the touch, above 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 Celsius, the mechanism is intact. The wall is working. You have been receiving the benefit without knowing it. If the wall is cool to the touch, below 60 degrees, 15 Celsius, something is between the stored heat and the room. That something is not the climate. That something was added with good intentions 2 winters ago. The fix was always there. You just couldn't see it. Have you ever checked the temperature of your south-facing wall at 3 or 4 in the afternoon? Tell me what you found in the comments, and whether the room felt warmer by midnight or colder by 4 a.m. That reading tells us exactly whether the wall is working.